Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Discuss the Resilient podcast. This time it's back to the trio, myself, Will, Aiden and Death Guard Dave. This time we don't have any Polish slash Belgian people for me to mess up. So we're going to have a bit of a round table one. There's obviously not a lot happening in terms of, new things for Death Guard specifically. So we're going to sort of talk, a bit about Manchester GT, which me and Aiden are both attending. Also some general topics about the meta, other factions, how Death Guard may or may not play into them. Obviously, in terms of talk about Death Guard and the factions, at the weekend, Aiden did a fantastic live stream with Don Hewson and Pierce from, is it Team Ireland or Team Northern Ireland? There we go, yeah.
Team Poland, do you mean?
So yeah, from Team Poland, everyone's from Team Poland.
P is for Pierce, P is for Poland. Makes sense.
So anyone who wants to sort of learn more about how Death Guard fit in the current meta, that's a great video to go and watch. And the people who did wonder where my Poland blunder came last week, Liam was streaming to us from Poland. I erased it. He did say that, so I had to slip of the tongue. So I'll apologise to Liam again. So I suppose the best thing to start is maybe we're going to talk about Manchester GT and then probably sort of branch off from there. So I guess, Aiden, you were kind of I'm going to learn about your list. I mean, maybe it's Morty or no Morty. That's probably as good a place to start as any.
So I'm still and ahhing, even with some test games in. I've not as many tests as I'd like, but I've got a few in, and the entire question of Morty or no Morty is a bit of a tough one, because I feel like I like the go wide. Like, obviously, I'm sure Dave and yourself have built like go wide lists about Morty. You get a lot of stuff, don't you? And you can feel really good. Yeah. But then there's always that worry in the back of my head. What if you run into the Custodians? What if you run into the Catan spam? I'm like, okay, so we managed to get some test games in. Unfortunately, not one against Necrons, but we did get a test game in against Custodians. And I'm happy in the Custodians matchup.
But you would be. You've played it about 600 times in the last 12 months.
I have. It turns out you put 28 flamers into a Custodians army, they concede turn 2. Love you, James. I'm sorry about that. I'm really sorry. But obviously the big fear is still with Catan mainly being the big problem there. Not only the flamers not going to wound them easily, they're going to half damage, which doesn't matter for flames, damage 1. But still, it's the 5-up Feel Pain, 4-up, and then if you don't kill it, it heals. Which makes me want to take Morty, but also, playing the list without Morty reminded me, the freedom of not having to, feel leashed to Morty all the time and be where I need to. So that's one thing. I did see someone at weekend actually win a major in America using the original list I took to my 4-1 at your event, Will. He's just tweaked it a little bit. He's took out 5 Plague Marines, which is 100% what I would have done. I said that unit was useless afterwards without a Rhino, and he's basically swapped it for a Beast of Nurgle and another unit of Nurglings because he dropped an enhancement. So, and that went 5-0. No, actually, it went 4-0-1. The final round was a 75-75 draw, and I was screaming at my screen because there was a winning play, and I was like, please notice it. And unfortunately, he didn't. But still, 5 games in, you don't always see the play. I'm sitting here as a spectator.
It's easy, isn't it? And we're watching on a stream or something.
Yeah, what was the play then? Because obviously that's an interesting thing. Cause, this might be something that other people, could be a mistake that other people could sort of, overlook and make themselves.
Yep.
So he needed to kill a Calidus Assassin that was on the middle point, and then we land Raider with Demon on it. He only needed to kill the Assassin because it would basically deny scoring units because it would go uppy downy with the Assassin. So he was trying to measure with his PBC to basically, can he move around a building and be able to get an angle and within 12 of her to shoot her with the entropies, the machine gun, the mortar. And he measured it out, and they were measuring it. They called the judge over, and it was just half an inch out. Right. So he wasn't going to be able to shoot it. So he was like, okay, I'll just have to give up on that idea. And if he would have just drove straight into the wall, he'd have just indirected her through the wall because she'd have been in 12 inches. But it's not something you always think of as indirect plus low not, but it's a weird. Again, no bad feelings towards him. You're round 5 in a tournament. You are knackered. I would not probably make the same choice if I was there. I'd done the same thing. But it's when you scream at, you're like, please notice it. But in the end, it didn't lose him the game. It just, like I said, it came to a draw. which is still, he won then off the battle points and the stuff afterwards, because both 2 people on 4-0-1. Cracking game though to watch, so check it out, War Games Live. Joe does a fantastic job of streaming.
It really does. It's a great to catch up stuff. I've often found it's on in my side panel of YouTube, and I've been like, I'll just drop in and see what's playing, and then you end up watching it for an hour.
Nice.
It's disgusting to be back with you guys, obviously, which is great. It feels like it's been a little while since we all got together and sat down and talked with some bits. Aiden, I was going to say, what other practice games did you have, and how's that kind of influenced the list then you're thinking of?
So, not unfortunately that many. I only got to play my Custodes game, and then I had a game against Chaos Knights, which was good though, because my list has obviously 28 Flamers, which are all anti-infantry based. Chaos Knights is like not what you want to face with that list. So we played against that. It was it was 5 Brigands, 5 Carnivores, 2 Stalkers, 2 units of Nurglings, and a Beast of Nurgle. And it actually pretty damn well. I still managed. I tabled him on turn 5. Managed to score like 86 or something. Primary still a pain in the ass versus Chaos Knights. But I've been running, instead of the Mortarion, use the points to get a Plaguecaster bus, which from your video, Dave got me looking at him. Check it out, Profiles of Decay. That thing slaps, dude.
The bus is hilarious. I've played it as well, locally with 2 at the minute. I really want to put, if I had Firing Deck 3.
A bit fun. But yeah, it's weird because it's 2d6 plus 6 shots from the 2 of them from inside the Rhino or on foot. And the thing is, you're looking at it's only strength 6, so it's only 5 and 6s to win vehicles. When you think about it, because you don't actually roll to hit, that's kind of like having lethal 5s and 6s. Because it's one set of rolls and 5s and 6s just wound. So when you actually play it out and you shoot like a Chaos Knight, you end up doing like 5 or 6 wounds, and each one of them has potential to be like up to 3 damage. So every turn, it sounds weird, but it's kind of good at how unpredictable the damage is. Because your opponent's like, how much damage can it do? And you're like, between 0 and then you're like, what is it? It's like, so it can be maximum, 18 shots at damage free. It's like somewhere between, 9 and 27. It's like, it varies a bit. But also the Overwatch threat of it. I got a squad out. Yeah, because even just the Overwatch because you have the Plague Spewer, and I was running them with 5-mans. So a 5-man with a Spewer Overwatch. You've got a Melter Gun in there, so the Melter Gun can always just roll that 6. You've got Plasma Gun, and then you've got his spell, which is also Torrent, which is hitting really hard. I had a Carnivore walk past me on 7 wounds and finish his move on 1. I was like, yeah, that's what you get. The -2 move obviously doesn't work in that matchup because it's versus infantry only, but the -1 to wound actually kind of helps. Really funny if you put it on a Carnivore that wants to charge like a bloat drone on a point, because now he's wounded it on 4s, which is really whiffy. Like, if you manage to, if you screw that up, that's a lot of like potential damage. Carnivore expect to go in and pick some up, making them wound on 4s versus vehicles is kind of like, ugh. So that was pretty cool. But I really just had a lot of fun playing it because it's a lot of pre-game choice as well. You can be like, okay, I'm going to run them both solo, so I can just have the 2 5-mans to get out the Rhino and do stuff, contest primary. Or if you're against a matchup where you're like, okay, I think at one point I'm actually going to want to get a guy out to do the -1 to wound, -2 move. You can actually slap one with a squad of 5, keep the other guy solo, or keep putting both in the 5-man squads. It's quite a versatile little package, and God, it does work. I won't lie, that thing does work.
Did you find did either of the players look at it as an assassinate option, like a?
No more so than the normal Plague Marine squad. Okay. I don't run any Virions in that Rhino, so there's 2 characters in it, which is the same as like the Foul Blight Spawn Bios Putrefy. So I want to say any more so. If you've got them solo, obviously it makes it more tempting, but just kind of play sort of safe with it. And then the good thing is that you can drive the 12, get the guys out free, and then still spray from inside the Rhino. So it was all because of the conversation we had with VSL, which anyone hasn't listened to, please check it out. We were all mind blown about how he plays it so different to what we thought. And I've been trying to basically play it with his mindset of it's more of a shooting unit than a melee unit. And it's been going pretty well. And I understand his argument for Melter Guns now. Okay, they don't always hit, they don't always wound, but if you're going to hit and wound something, you might as well go for the biggest damage you can. which did work. I managed to get like 7 damage from a random shot onto a brigand, which popped it. It was like, okay, cool.
Nice.
Whereas before that might not have happened.
That's pretty cool.
What about you, Will? Have you had a chance to test anything for that list? Or
I've been testing some stuff. I mean, I was going to ask you. I know you're not playing Manchester. I was going to ask you what you're running, Dave. But I'll run through mine quickly. But anyone who's listened to my stuff, it's stayed pretty simple. I keep trying to move away from the sweet spot I'd found and just keep coming back to it. I tried dropping a carnivore and a squad of nurglings to bring a PBC in. It just wasn't impressed with PBC. Although I don't know if anyone's ever done this math, by the way. And this might be obvious. I'm just obvious to Aiden and probably yourself as well, Dave. Just sat and rolled out a PBC, see how many turns it would take to kill five 2 power armored, 3 up save guys basically. It's 3 turns on average from one PBC. Like it's consistently 3 turns, 3 or 4 I found. So like,
Will, Will, to kill what?
To kill like 5 power armored guys with 2 wounds, one from 1 play burst crawler. Have you ever just sat there and just rolled the number of shots, hits, wounds, then fake the saves? Because when you shoot with 1, it's the 1 damage shot. It's random, isn't it? You don't know how many you're getting up for 3. So it's generally 3 turns of shooting to kill 5. So because I was thinking, I was curious to sort of how long would it take to chip people's home fields and make them run back. But it also made me realise why 3 is the sweet spot. So I listened to, actually it was the Fireside 40k podcast, as to David Gaylard said he played against them with 2 PBCs, and he said it wasn't enough, it should be 3. And having done that, because I wanted to see how useful 1 would be just to cover my home field, and how useful would the mortar be. It is 3 turns, so okay, if you've got 3, no buffs on the PBCs either, raw rolling and then raw saves. It is 9 out of 10 times 3 turns to kill 5 space marines or sisters or sisters of silence or something. Just if people are ever curious and if they want to do it at a kitchen table or something. So it just wasn't enough for me. The carnivore that I dropped to bring in, the list just lost a load of pressure.
Right.
Like I hadn't realised how much the 3rd carnivore made a difference, because you put 1 on each flank and then the 3rd one kind of always rapid ingresses and get to line, and then dropping the nurglings also lost the ability to score cards as easily. So I played an RTT at the weekend. I went undefeated actually. I finished 2nd, but I'll do that in one of my solo videos.
Nice.
So I went back to it, and I actually dropped the nurglings because I had 15 points spare that would have gone into like a random upgrade.
Yeah.
But I actually dropped it for a 2nd squad of cultists, and the 2nd squad of cultists were that was the sweet spot. If anything, I was almost thinking, do I want 3 squads of cultists now? Just that pre-game move in 2 places, or 1 that could maybe just go in the middle, and then if I go say 2nd, it can go back and just be on my home field instead.
So on that note, Will, I've actually gone 2 units of cultists as well, because I wasn't running them before. Put them back in. You're right. I really like the stuff you can do with them. The Custodes game, I got 1st turn. We're playing on the 6th objective one where it was corner deployment. So I scouted them onto both middle objectives, sticking them both in the command phase.
That's my favourite move.
Moved and advanced them, managed to get a good advance roll, managed to block a Land Raider as well into his deployment zone, put it in -1 save range, Boil Blight it, and then all my shots dropped the Land Raider from the mortars, and I got 2 entropys onto it, dropped it to 4 wounds. So I got Land Raider to 4 wounds, move blocked it so it wasn't going anywhere, and sticky 2 objectives, which forces them to have to come out and take me off them.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? And that's all from a single 50-point unit. So I definitely kept the 1 in. The 2nd one, I'm probably also going to keep in. It's like you said, it's just nice to have. Worst case scenario, it holds home, or you slap it in reserves, because I've been trying to also use my PBCs more aggressively rather than sitting behind the walls all the time. Again, Liam's sort of like input there. When you actually use them aggressively, a lot of the times you won't be hitting on 4s, you'll be just shooting what you can see. And then Lord of Virulence drops in, hitting on 2s, ignoring cover, makes them a lot better than just sitting behind the wall like I was previously doing and just trying to indirect stuff off with Morty there.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart, because I mean, like I was saying, I want to see how much damage 1 PBC does, and I think 3 just indirecting, but that's a lot of points. It's nearly 600 points to kill 1, 5-man Space Marine unit, for example. I know the opponent's tactics, that can be quite a lot, because it means things have to keep running back to guard their home field and stuff, but it is, I think when you start getting the spitters in and using the fact they've got 4 OC, I think that probably is the sweet spot for them. But just to recap for the people who haven't listened to my list before. It's 3 carnivores, 3 predator destructors, 30 plague marines, 3 rhinos, and then loads of characters, or 5 characters. It kind of, at the moment, it's 3 biologist putrefiers, 1 foul blight spawn, and typhus. So just to recap, I think he's auto include, but then
he's definitely auto. Yeah,
because I do have a question though, and this is something that I'm curious about. If you are running 3 PBCs and you've got 80 points left at the end of the list, and you're thinking, well, that's typhus. Is it actually better to put a load of virulence in to buff the 3 PBCs?
I would say if you've got 3 PBCs, I've got a load of virulence already on the table.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I run both.
That's fair.
Even if I run 3 PBCs in Morty, I also run a load of virulence.
Oh, okay. Because the three PBC list I've got, which I've maybe running teams, has got 2 predators, no carnivores, obviously, because you probably wouldn't be have the allies. And then I was thinking, it's got typhus in, but I was thinking, is the Lord of Virulence better if it's one or the other? But I mean, that's it's a kind of a side point, really.
It's a flavour, isn't it? What do you like personally?
Predator destructors that are in your list are the one thing I'm like considering like potentially swapping something for, because like predators are really good, good. And I've not got any in my list at the moment, and I've got a 6-man unit of Death Shroud plus a lot of virulence. Debating dropping that to a 3-man Death Shroud. Obviously, that's a lot less flamers and less effective, like Overwatch and stuff like that. But would also fit a Predator back in there, which brings some 2 las cannons, brings me an auto cannon, which is nice flat free. So it swings and roundabouts on it. But like, I really want to toy around with like the strategic reserve Predator, coming and getting a good angle, stuff like that. How have your Predators been performing for you?
I think you have to have 3 personally. I mean, we've had this discussion before with Aiden's little predator that could. It's like Aiden's predator seems to be able to kill like Warhound Titans and stuff on its own.
Not destructors. It has to be an annihilator. I've tried solo destructor. That one lets me down all the time.
So yeah, then I put 3 destructors in the list and can't even kill a war dog. Like the last cannon sponsors just love rolling double ones. It's like if there's ever a double one going to happen at some point, it'll happen to my last cannon sponsors consistently. They'll either hit like. Sometimes a hit with like a 5 and a 6, and I'm like, oh no, here it comes, and it is just double 1 afterwards. Yeah,
see, that's why like that makes me want to take Mortarion, because like rerolling ones is like so nice sometimes, but at the same time it's like a lot of points.
I see. This is the thing I was going to put a counterpoint when we talk about Morty, and then obviously we'll bring you in here, Dave. So I want to get your opinion on this. I don't think Morty is the model that people think he is. Like, and what I mean by this is people keep saying how he changes the Necron game, and even when you guys did the stream on the live stream on Saturday, when you talk about the Death Guard mirror, about how if they've got Morty and you don't, I think that 6-inch aura is not as important as people think, because it's only in one part of the board. Like say offensively, it's only ever in one firing lane. Like maybe it's different with PBCs, because obviously PBCs have got the outer line of sight, but with 3 predators, say you're playing against Necrons and they're picking up Gatans and dropping them 3 inches away. They're never going to drop it in the firing lane where your predators can pivot to get it, and then obviously use Morty's aura. They'll always put it in the place where they can't. Like when you rapid ingress something in, you never rapid ingress it into the one place on the board that's really definitely going to kill that unit. You do the one place that's definitely not going to kill that unit. That one is definitely safe. Like you've got to be playing a terrible.
Just a quick one, Will. I rapid ingressed my Death Shroud versus the Chaos Knights. Again, dodged all the brigands, like you said, wouldn't do that. Put it in line of sight of one Carnival, and the Havoc Launcher killed a fucking Death Shroud. I was so mad.
That's so annoying. 6
shots, hits them all, freaking wounded like 4 of them, and I failed 3-2 up, so I was like, great.
It happens. But the thing I'm saying is, say people are saying 3 Catans, you never, a good opponent, unless they're trying to bait you and they want you to be in that channel because that's kind of stopping you from moving to another part of the board, I think it's a trap, the Morty thing. I think he makes more sense where he's like running as like a solo unit that kind of runs to about the board and then goes left or right from the centre depending on where he's always needed, rather than sort of like expecting it to buff your shooting or whatever. So I think he's good, but I think, like you were alluding to there, I think for me just more stuff is better. Like for example, Morty's, well, he's 100 points more. I'd rather have 3 carnivores than Morty, because that's what I'd drop to fit him in. And like I say, I mean, I was running him probably later than when everyone else was, and now he's back. I've sort of fallen away from him. But I don't know, what's your thought on this, Dave? I mean, is he in your list, or are you? And if he is, what's his role? How have you found him?
If you have a look at the picture, this won't help for example. I'll talk about it, which will make sense. If you look in the in our chat, Will.
Yep.
So that's an example of a game I played versus Blood Angels recently, where I'm running 2 PBCs. There's actually a third Predator there as well, and with that bottom PBC, which is just to make another slight move, there's also a Lord of Virulence up to the left who's got view over the battlefield. I had all of those vehicles within Morty's 6-inch aura, and I positioned them all to be able to move, like we talk about the car park a lot, right? So I set them up so that I suddenly had firing lanes down the bottom of the board, back up the middle, across into those eradicators at the top right. The mortars were getting the ignore penalty for shooting out line of sight. The Lord of Virulence was giving them +1 to hit. I was ignoring any damage modifiers, any armor of contempt for all of those vehicles. And basically what I did is I put Morty, instead of deploying him traditionally like behind the big L, I actually started him behind that mid L at the butt there to better with the PBCs tucked against the wall. He was safe from line of sight shooting, and then by turn 4 he was touching into his deployment zone. So I started to move Morty out and into the middle, and then shifted some of the vehicles around with him. So it's not by any means an auto take to keep Morty in the list. And I totally get it. He's if you sit him behind a wall and tie 3 PBCs within 6 inches of him, then you're playing a very, very deliberate game of I'm making a hole to deep strike something in, or I am going to try and take you out of the primary game. And if, like Aiden said, you get the cultists on and they have to come forward, then whatever comes forward is going to get absolutely mortared to shit out of from it. So
yeah, I think
from the list I've actually I'm probably going to run this weekend is 2 lots of 10 cultists, Typhus, Tallyman, Lord of Virulence, 1 Annihilator, 2 Destructors, 6-man Death Shroud, 2 Plague Spitter drones, 1 Heavy Blight Launcher drone, 3 PBCs, 2 lots of 20 Poxwalkers, 3 Noglings.
Yeah,
so I'm kind of with you in that I think the Predators are good in a bigger number of them, and I think with given what we talked about with Liam, Aiden, that then with 3 PBCs, Predators are towards the back, drones to move out on the back of Poxwalkers, on the back of Cultists, gives it that mix of aggressive PBC play, Predators to get line of sight down the field, Poxwalkers to just soak up loads and loads of shots and things with the 5-up feel no pain, sitting on points, Cultists to get the early primary game going, and then the drones to basically flame off stuff that comes the closer, and they can float around behind the PBCs. So nice. I think that's kind of an attack I'm going to take on it. But then the other list that I ran in that, like I said, that Blood Angels game was, Morty, 2 PBCs, 3 Predators, and I actually ran. Like I said, we on the previous talk, I'm quite a fan of taking Poxwalkers again now. I'm finding them really, really useful, especially one of them with Typhus attached. You just get one of them, kind of a group of them, in that like a search and destroy style deployment at the bottom, to basically push out and advance, whilst you've dropped some Nurglings on a point down the bottom as well, so they're just following it up. Anything that comes down there to try and deal with them is getting shot by Predators on the lane. If they're out of line, if they're in line of sight, you can mortar them. I found those 2 groups of 20 Poxwalkers is very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's I can see that, because it's just some armies just don't put out that much damage. I mean, obviously there are some armies that do, but they're not necessarily common in the meta. And if you put on them, say for example, you come against Guard, 20 Poxwalkers in your home field objective. I mean, the Guard have got a lot of out of line of sight artillery, but it seems to be stuff that's good at killing elite units. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of flat 3 damage stuff, rather than having 20 shots to kill 20 Poxwalkers. If they have to and you're
gonna roll quite a few 5s in that as well to save shots, and also then and especially if you go first and that objective's sticky anyway, then. Or they're going to try and come and clear them off. It's quite a lot of dedication versus a lot of other things on the field to have to deal with. Yeah,
and it's cheap as well, and it's only 100 points. Because that's my thing with Morty. I was going to say there, because my other example with Morty is he's 325 points, and so 2 Predators are 260, and you've still got points spare. I mean, 260 them with Typhus on top, it's
340, yeah, it's pretty
340, yeah, which isn't pretty much Morty. That's better to me because, Morty's going to say you've got 3 Predators on the board that Morty's buffing. Instead of buffing the 3 Predators, just take 2 more Predators. And then that's more hit rolls, more chances they could fail a save. Fair play says it's a Catan that's half in damage. Fair play, it's also more chances to half damage, but you can cover more of the boards. You can be in more than one firing lane. This is the counter argument to it. And I was sort of on the fence with Morty, but it was kind of talking, that we've referenced last episode with Liam. It's kind of saying like a team like Liam hadn't even considered Morty from the vibe that I got from sort of what he was saying and the way his list sort of functioned, which kind of made me think, he's definitely proven to be one of the most, or if not the more successful Death Guard player out there. Obviously Aiden, is up there as well, but obviously it's one of those things when there's an elite player like that who is running a list that does seem to sort of have the ability to go wide, especially the way he's pushing the play burst callers out wide. I don't know, it just seems like Morty, as we said, it just forces you to be in a big clump. And although it's a good buff, it's a great buff, it's only in a 12-inch aura.
Yeah, I think you can't, and I wouldn't underestimate the reroll ones to wound as well.
That's good.
That's it isn't just the ignore out of line of sight shooting with the PBCs. Like, it's that being able to pick up and reroll those ones as well is super useful. And rerolling ones on the Predators as well is good. Like you said, right? It's what there's an argument, really good one for, and there's one against. And I think the other thing, which Liam talked to as well, is how playing that style on UKTC is versus non-UKTC terrains, because there's that's something we're all much more familiar with doing, right? It's playing UKTCs for us. So I'm interested to see how that style of approach, and I'll certainly be trying some of those tactics out. It actually works out, and you guys can do that obviously at Manchester. So it's going to be good to see how that kind of play style of Death Guard works on it.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose because there's a few of the topics to run through as mentioned at the start. But before we move on to them, maybe just sort of keep the focus on Manchester just for another split second. And so, who do we think then? Because obviously, I know you're not coming, Dave. But anyone who plays in the UK regularly and knows who normally wins Super Mage, you don't need to be at the Super Mage to guess who could be on the top tables. Should
we start with rather than who, maybe what?
Yeah,
So, are Drakari going to turn up and play strong at this event? Are we going to see this Storm Raven?
I haven't looked at the roster, but haven't seen who won their last Super Major. I suspect Guard could be up there. Someone will have Eldar. Someone's definitely going to have Eldar. I think it could be a handful of players and probably Custodes.
Eldar MSU.
Yeah, which also will lead nicely into another topic we've got to talk about. But I would guess it's probably, this is the reality of the UKTC stuff. It's probably going to be Manny, Innis, Vic, maybe Mike Porter if Mike Porter comes because it's local. Do you know what I mean? Maybe Innis Wilson. Like the top cut is usually pretty cookie cutter. But that's because the UK, these big events in the UK, like. We've talked about it because obviously we TO the Stonehammer GTs, and previously you might have expected likes of Manny and people to come and Manny Chima to come and travel for it, but now those guys are sort of chasing the ITC points. If they're going to travel, why would they travel to win a 60-person GT and Element Games? They can travel, to win a 300-400 person event and get mega ITC points. So these big events in the UKTC are generally the top cut, like the final round and the top tables is generally like Team England versus, Team England, Innis from Team Scotland, and then any of the European team captains who've decided to come over and, flex their muscles. People do creep in, like Ed Watts is getting in there quite regularly at the moment, it seems, and, maybe Aiden will make the cut in as well, but it's sort of, it is one of these things where
made it once.
Well, you made it late. This could be your time, Aiden, you never know.
Yeah, it could be this time.
But
Leeds is my time when they're all at fucking WTC. But it's interesting to think, because one thing that people need to understand as well is Especially it's more of a UK problem. US, you're not going, it's a lot more expensive for you to fly around to every event. UK, we can jump in the car for a couple hours. Worst case scenario,
hours would be almost any event. Yeah,
there are in the game genuinely like two tiers of players. I'd say competitively, there are the people like the names that Will just said there, and then there's the rest of us. So these people,
I would say three actually. So if we're going to be, I would say you've got people like myself, mid-table people who can push a 4-1 on a good day. People like yourself, Aiden, who consistently push a 4-1.
Yeah.
There's like Mike Duff, is another one in our meta. People you expect to get a 4-1. And then you have the 1%. They call them the 1% club. You've your Manny Cheemers and people where if they don't get 5-0, it's like, oh my God, he went 4-1. He didn't, you know what I mean? Like, whereas anyone else is like, yes, 4-1, like, get in. Everyone was there like, bad day in the office, innit?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
but these people, the people that are the top 1%, they literally like, and like, I know we joke, like, we live a lot and breathe a lot of 40k. It's our favorite hobby. We do this channel, all that stuff. But those people literally like you are the Warhammer 40k. They play multiple games every day, whether that be TTS, realistic. They practice all the time. They practice loads of matchups. For example, just in this chat here, I practice I get one game usually every 2 weeks when I get to go to my club. What do you guys practice normally?
Yeah, every couple of weeks.
One game every 2 weeks now. I used to get 2 or 3 games a week, but then since with our club, same as your club, Aiden, someone's got to be the spare man.
Yeah.
And then the way it works with the part-time hours I do at Element Games for a bit of pocket money, so that, the time I would have been gaming, I'm now often at Element Games, but I'm either working or making sure everyone else on at our club night's got a game. So it's I know what you're saying though. It's one of these people. Whereas I don't know how much. We'll stick with Manny because we've mentioned him. I don't know how many games a week Manny plays, but I imagine it's a few. And if it's not, it's probably because he's so good at the game, he doesn't need to practice.
This is the thing I'm saying. So when we're saying like, so we this is kind of like a little bit of a talk we did about. I think it's a good series we could possibly do about like people maybe like they go into the first events and realistic expectations and whatnot. I never go to a super major expecting to make top cut. I will try my best, but realistically, and people will be like, "Oh, but you got rank 1 day." It doesn't matter. I'm not that good. I'm pretty good at Death Guard, but I'm not that good. But my goal is always try and get at least positive win rate, which is 3-2, and then my usual like thing I try and get is a 4-1, and then the 5-0 is like the final push, trying to get something like hard. That's where it's like really like that's my goal. But it's not my goal that I'm unhappy if I don't reach. It's just like the ultimate, like, yes, I got it. So when we talk about like these people and stuff, I just want to make sure people don't like. There is a like even between like us here who talk about Death Guard and stuff, we aren't like the same like level in that regard. Not to like disrespect any of us. I know like what we're saying isn't like helpful, hopefully, to people, but it's just sort of like understand that there are people that will play almost every day, and it's like especially with their team events, they have to play a lot. And there's us who are more like casual heroes, I guess you could say. I don't know. It's a weird way to put it.
This is actually, so I'm actually going to come up with something that I've talked about my solo series, and it kind of came up, but I actually think the three of us would be a great time to talk. So, and actually a nice sort of thing. What is player skill? Like because people talk about 40k, like what is player skill? For example, I've talked about some people in 40k. And some people are like, well, I know all the rules. But then those people, I won't mention their names, don't win that many games because they know the rules. But it's like, just because you know every word in the dictionary, write a number 1 best-selling film. It doesn't work that way. So like, for me, it's decision-making. It's, like make a decision quickly. It's, having knowing your rules and their rules help you make the right decision quickly, especially if you're in like a 3-hour environment, a tournament where you've got to make a decision where, if you get decision paralysis, you can run out of time, and maybe it's in the final turns, you clock out or whatever, but is it also in your own rules? Is it knowing the game? Is it sort of having a foresight and being able to predict what the other person's doing? Is it a combination? Like, because the reality is this isn't football or a sport where, we're physically using our bodies and having to sort of, one person's stronger than this, one person can run faster, one person's taller. We're all just using our brain and rolling dice. For example, is player skill quick math? Someone who can do probability. Because you notice a lot of the guys who are top players, who speak them, have got backgrounds as math teachers, accountants, stuff like that. So, open up to us a round table, like in 40k, what is player skill? Because I think it's kind of I don't know, it's like a sort of, it's hard to put your finger on, and for different people, it could be different things.
Yeah. It's a great question, though. This will be a long topic, but I'm happy to dive into this.
I'm more than happy to talk about this for a bit. I think it's a really good question. I find that, I don't know, I think there's a mix, right, of when you are at a point, I think, when you can play the game, and I talk about this as like someone who's like, I'm like you were, right? If I can get 4-on-1 anywhere, I'm super happy. So I'm going to state that as my bar, right? But and so within that context, I think I have what I would judge as me feeling like I have an element of player skill is that I can play the game without, like, almost not on autopilot, but like subconsciously, like, so that I'm just thinking about what I'm going to do after this person's turn is happening, and while they're doing it, adjusting that plan on the fly. And I think that's kind of for me where, but I do only exclusively play Death Guard. I've only ever played Death Guard, so that's easier than trying to remember the rules for 15 armies that some people own, I know. But that for me is one of the key ones, and is not getting kind of flustered about it, right? Just kind of like, I think there's a balance of going, as long as you're playing it with the attitude of having a game of 40k with somebody, whilst obviously at the time trying to win, particularly in a tournament environment. But I think it's about that. I'm going into this with a plan. I'm not just deploying this stuff because I've got to put some stuff on the table, and where I'm going to go turn one and then on to turn two, ideally, is this. And having that as a kind of couple of building blocks, I think, is what I would start to kick off the position on what I consider to be more skillful play.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, part of me suspects that it's how many of these individual skills you can combine into one person, is where, because I would get the impression that, say, again, we'll stick with Manny team, he's the number one player in the world, so it is actually quite a good example for this. I would get the impression he knows the rules of his army. You do see those guys make mistakes in top tier, because there's so much information to take in under the pivot from army to army. But I know most of main armies, they're probably good at quick math. They're probably sort of like, I don't know, they're probably just good at sort of like playing 3-10. Like we talk like Liam VSL, I mean, we kind of talk about in the chat. You get the impression that, they're playing 3D chess. It's kind of like, I know in 3 turns time I want to be here, and what happens in the middle. So next turn I've got to do that, and the turn I've got to do that. But then in the middle, my opponent's going to be doing this, and if I can guess, and then they might do this, so I'll have to have this contingency plan, and all of a sudden it must be like just a swarm of bees in your head, just going all these, each one with a little idea, and knowing which, if you use a bee analogy to listen to, which buzz is the right buzz to sort of, listen to and formulate a plan around. I don't know. I mean, but there's so many different elements to sort of take in. And for example, myself and maybe yourself there, Dave, I'm probably a 3-2 player. I am a 3-2 player. I've got the result to show it. So that I think, because I focus on one or two things of, the multiple different things, and just kind of do them. And sometimes I try and work in a new skill, so, pick up a new rule that I think I've done badly in a previous one, and try and slowly just add to myself. But I think some people just have these skills naturally. I mean, I don't know, what are your thoughts, Aiden? Because obviously you're maybe a lot more cerebral than myself, and maybe Dave as well. I don't know.
I think we're talking about player skill and what it means to be player skilled. I agree with Dave. I think sticking with one army is helpful, very helpful in terms of like learning rules fast, understanding stuff like that. It also teaches you expected outcomes, so you don't have to do so much mental math. So like you can understand sort of like, if you've played 6 Death Shroud and a Lord of whatever like 50 times, you probably understand how much punishment that unit can take without having to even maths it up. You just look at the opponent and go, okay, yeah, if they all shoot it, it's going to die, but if I put it there, it's not going to die. Because the fun thing is, I feel like Death Guard screws up people who have that mindset, that skrill down, because we're very good at messing that up. People are like, oh, it's never died before. You're like, dead now. But I think another thing for player skill is, I think a lot of it comes down to sort of set up. So it's having redundancy plans. So like, if this doesn't fall, like, so for example, not deep striking Typhus with one smite target, deep striking with a priority smite target, and then if that dies to like some lucky entropy cannons, you then got a secondary target to put it into. Or worst case scenario, you can do an action. So it sort of like balances. So you never have like a dead unit. I think it's the one thing that is trying to get the most out of every unit every turn, whether that just be moving, like you said, to set up a later turn, whether that be maximizing the amount of damage you can get out of your army in a turn, or minimizing the amount it take. But I always think one of the biggest player skills is understanding that the dice didn't screw you, you fucked up. Because I did my live stream recently, and Dave pointed out in the comments as I was very open with it, that Black Templars game versus Mike Duff, I fucked up. It wasn't dice. I had some unlucky dice, don't get me wrong, like Mortarion game 3 ones to hit was rough and bad, but the mistake was already made. The 10-man play greens never should have been where they were, and I screwed that up. And the skill is to take away that, understand it, and be like, okay, let's adapt it. And I think another part of player skill that comes into that is also understanding play style. I think the Morty list is good with the PVCs and things like that. Is it good for me? Debatable. I just don't like vehicle movement. So I probably couldn't learn it, but it's not where my strengths are. Now it doesn't mean it's bad. You can definitely still play it. It's really good. We just saw let's go 5-0 basically with the same list, just so you know it does work. But I think it's such a weird discussion to have for player skill because there's so many things. But I think learning mistakes is a big one. Trying to maximize like unit efficiency is a good one, and also just experience, which is not really a skill. It's more just learn experience of expected outcomes and like redundancy plans for those outcomes.
I think the way you could maybe shrink it down to player skill is minimizing the impact of probability.
Yes, I think. Do you know what? I think probably that's it, and then you branch it out as to like through doing blah blah blah. I think there's another thing which we haven't mentioned is player skill. Now, I'll name drop someone in our meta because I think someone in our meta is a prime example of this. Dave Irwin, list building. Some people, when the game unfolds, they're not the most dynamic of player, I don't think, in terms of like, because you look at some people like, we'll keep using Manny. You watch him on streams and he seems to be able to pivot his play style to match his opponent. You know, he can be super aggressive, he can be like passive. Do you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. Like maybe there's more passive players and more aggressive players, but there are some players like Dave Irwin in our meta, and people might know his name because he did really well at Warhammer Fest last year. I think he came 4th. But he's someone who writes a list that intends to table you 2 to 3 turns by just doing X, Y, Z, and that's what it's going to do every game. Yep. And it's really efficient, really effective at it. And if you can counter it, or if you're like, you can see a way to play around it, he hasn't really got a next level to it. But those lists, they're so effective. He's just like, you know, his skill is list building and just dealing damage quickly. You know, and that's, I think, in itself, you know, is a skill, because list building is where it all starts. You can be the best player in the world, but if you've got the naffest list, if you come against a bad player with a super efficient list just in how it's constructed, does that list just steamroll you because, you know, unfortunately that's just how the game works? You know, there's so many different layers to it, and I think it probably is, you know, the reality is if we were to put it in different category, I think it is a bit of everything, and you know, I think everyone's got a bit of everything. For example, my list building might be 40% of 100, and you know, then Dave Irwin's might be 90% of 100, but X, Y, and Z, you know, and we could, you know, everyone could do their own equation and, you know, come up with a mean score and blah, blah, blah. But it's an interesting topic of conversation. And do you know what I think we should do is, I have just realised something. I think we should actually park the player skill conversation here, because we have talked about getting Stephen Box on through the Vanguard Tactics guys. This might be a great one to pick up with him.
I think the 26th of March.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I think that's actually a really good point, Will. But what I think it goes back to as well is, and this maybe moves on to some of the other topics. But like you said, it comes down to play style and preference, right? Like you love your carnivores, don't you? Like, you know, you love your you love your war dogs. Yeah. I'm happy running a car park or Mortarion. You know, Aiden is all about the toolbox, like that being able to adapt or play different play styles as needed. And that's just the 3 of us here, let alone, as we've talked about continually, the other variations of Death Guard lists that can be built, and the, you know, things people want to do. Like, you could probably build a really effective Total Demon Engines list at the moment. If your play style is that's what you enjoy, you're going to do better with that than any of us probably will, because that's not our play style. So therefore, naturally, we're less suited to doing well with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the reason because we do this live, people listening at home, so we kind of, a lot of these conversations are quite spontaneous, which is why we pivot left and right, and it can kind of be a bit sort of go down rabbit holes. But hopefully this is good content. But we do, as we've alluded to, and I suppose leaked now. We've got Stephen Box coming, and we were saying, because he's got some, I think, some news which we won't leak on the channel linking to Death Guard, but it might be a really good one to bring him on, because we'll talk about some topics of things we could discuss. But I think, play style, list building, what is player skill. I think he'd be a great guest to sort of really deep dive that, and maybe do a whole hour discussion, because I think really, I think we've just scratched the surface on that. I think you could probably get very philosophical about it and sort of,
Well, so, you've only got to look at one of his mantras, right, which is CP for VP, right? Like that sums up his, what that academy and what his ethos is on playing the game, right? Which is, I think it's really interesting. So I think it's a really good point. So let's go back to Manchester a second. Will, you go first, and then Aiden. What are you? Is there anything now that you're, or what do you, now that CSM's changed, now that Necrons has changed a bit, or is kind of riding high? Is there anything what do you not mind running into, and what do you really not want to run into?
I can't beat Custodes on the Kilmore mission, unfortunately. My list doesn't have enough guns to engage them at range. I have to. So my tactic into Custodes, I take the -1 OC contagion, and I just stand on points and try to sort of beat them on score, which does work. And then I shoot them with the Predators, and rather than put an extra OP, I'll put Boil Blight. So I'm still hitting with. I'm generally always pushing the invuln, but I don't have enough distance sort of shoot to do it.
And
so on the, I think it's the second mission, basically the hold more, kill more. I can't kill more against Custodes, and I can hold more if I do -1 OC, but when they come and push into me, they do burn through me. Like, I found that mission, it's a coin toss for me, to be honest. Like, I have to sort of play it very differently to how you guys would, because my carnivores in that one do absolutely nothing. They charge in, don't fight, they fight first,
they fight
pick them
first.
up. And then the Plague Marines again. I've tried even charging Carnivore on one edge and the Plague Marines on the other to sort of divide them, and they still pick up both half the time. It's ridiculous. But it's just because they're, the armies, they shut down combat armies, and my skew is a mechanised combat skew, really. So it's one of these things where they as much as everyone else is sort of their bread and butter, they are kind of counter to what I'm doing. Whereas World Eaters, a little bit less of a counter, because they struggle to pop my transports, and they do die easy. So I can kind of sort of, get with World Eaters because they don't have to fight first. But as soon as Custodes swing first into me, I generally don't.
You start dropping models.
Yeah, and then when they play the damage reduction strats against me as well, because I'm not doing huge damage at range, it really neuters me. So I found I just have to sort of play I'll stand here and I know I'm going to die, but hopefully you don't score and I do score game, which, it makes it more swingy. So for me, I don't want to see Custodes. And as much as I know they are, rightly so, as everyone was saying, an easier match for most Death Guard builds, I still think they'll be in the top 4. It wouldn't surprise me if one of the name players that we've mentioned brings them and has a run. If Josh Roberts is probably Necrons, if Vic's probably Vic Vijay, he'll probably have MSU Eldar, which is probably something else we can talk about. And then David Gaylard, if he's there, he'll have guards. Innis probably be there with some kind of Space Marine build. I think he's still running, is he? Although maybe he'll have Death Guard. He did, when he came and did the chat with us, he did say he would do if they were in the meta. So see if he puts his money where his mouth is. But I don't know. I mean, what about you, Aiden? What do you think we're gonna see? Maybe player, army, and then Dave as well. Because even though you're not playing, like I say with my list, there was nothing there that you couldn't just guess.
Yeah, so I agree with everything you've said there. Obviously, lots of Necrons, lots of Custodes, lots of Eldar, lots of Space Marine, Black Templars specifically, more than likely at the top end. It's just really strong armies. Tau, I actually think we could see quite a bit of Tau. Yeah. Tau are on a bit of a resurgence, and a lot of people like Tau. In terms of what I want to see, feed me Custodes, please.
You can have the Custodes. There you go.
I will take them all happily. So there's one. Okay, so one thing, and I want the chat. If you are a listener, I would love you to comment on this. There's a question I've been sort of debating with myself, and it does pertain to Manchester, and that is, so we make this channel, obviously. And I want to try and get a good rank as possible for Death Guard. Again, that is like my goal thing. But I also like doing things like my way. Like I rejected Brigands all the time. Like we reject Brigands. Stuff like that. Didn't do the VSL list because we reject that. So the question is, I can take the Mortarion list, which is sort of safe, covers me against Custodes, covers me against Catan to a degree, which is cool. Or I could take the weird Super Flamer list with the Plaguecasters and some off-meta units. So it's sort of like, do I take a standardized list and try and do as best I can? Or do I try and do as best as I can within the confines of something a bit weird and off-meta? What would you like to see? Because like I said, I don't always want to run the same list event after event after event, because when we have these chats, it's going to be like, how'd it go in? Yeah, same as last time, mate. You know what I mean? So I'm running some like the Playcasters, which is like weird little tech you don't really see much. I've been having a lot of fun running them, and they're quite damn good. It's just interesting. It's a different perspective, some little less, because I always used to bring the last edition, you know, the heavy blight launcher drone? Last edition, I always brought him as like a pet unit. So he'd like go with the Contemptors. The Contemptors fired away with his Volkites and this little thing just flying around, skewing and shooting. So I feel like at the moment the Playcasters are like my little heavy blight launcher. I just want to bring them for fun. So let us know in the comments if you want me to do that, or should I just play it safe and bring the sort of like, you know, one that's been tested and proven as seen to be done at least 4 1-able, if not 5 and 0-able. So that'd be cool to get a feedback on. But yeah, in terms of what I don't want to run into, if I didn't bring Morty, it probably would be like a Catan spam. It's just, but again, if we want to go back to player skill at the moment, I will make a daring and shocking comment to say there are certain lists that really do take away the requirement of player skill. Some of them being more skew intensified, because you basically just stat check someone. If they fail the stat check, you sometimes just get a free win. So I'm not. I mean,
Custodes do that by their nature. Because even though you're saying there should be an easy game for Death Guard, if you run the heavy flamers, but if they roll 4-ups and nothing other than 4-ups, you ain't winning that game.
If you go to Custodes Club and they're 4-upping all the time, there's zero that can be done against it. Even if you've got devastating wounds, even if you've got mortal wounds,
it happens. But I don't want to play against something like that, because I just find them. I find that the joy from playing against the Custodes isn't the game, it's the look on the Custodes' face when their uncles die. It's funny. But like when it's like 5 Catan or something, like the game's just boring. Like even like 18 Wraiths, like Josh Roberts is really good with it, knows what he's doing, smashing people's faces. Most miserable game of my life. Sorry. not because of him.
They're masochist, really, aren't they? I just want to see them cry. I want to see them. I want to see his tears. Drink his salty tears.
Just so good. Like you just sit there and you sip your little thing as you fire 28 anti-infantry flamers. Like yes, the tears, so delicious.
Walk over and lick their cheeks. Oh, those tears taste so salty.
I've distilled it into an IPA called Emperor's Finest.
Oh yes. Yes. Has he got little like gold gimmer with little golden flakes in it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I will have to play against Custodes. I fear the Reaper as well. Which is hey, fear the Reaper. Six Gladiator. Yeah, the Black Templar Reaper spam. You can take up to 6 of them. I don't like Devastating Wounds as a mechanic. I think it's stupid. You take an anti-infantry tank, you give it a devastating weapon with twin linked, and now suddenly it's killing everything.
Everything's dead. Yeah.
I just don't like Dev Wounds. It's stupid, especially like Dev Wounds plus twin linked. He's just really stupid. Like I lost Morty to like just Reaper spam, whereas really, you look at the stats of that gun, strength 6, AP 0, 1 damage. Morty should be laughing at that thing. T12, 2-up save out from low pain. Yeah. Should never even hurt him, but instead he dies to him because Dev Wounds go haha.
I mean, this is the other side of Morty that we haven't even touched on, because I think it's so obvious. Because he is just a big chunk. He is resilient, especially for his points. It's one of the things where he's hard to kill, but there are some armies that just go through him. Like certain Space Marine builds, Oath of Moment him turn 1, first time to see him and he just pop, he's gone. Do you know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of stuff in the meta that can do it, but it is a sad day when that happens. He can be a liability for those reasons as well.
Yeah,
so I don't know
and that's an interesting one, right? Whether you go, if your opponent's got that, then are you putting him on the line? Right, are you, and if you are running him, you're probably running him because you've got PBCs. And that's the other thing I would say about Morty is that's a pretty definite statement. if he's on the table, you've got PBCs. There's not really. I don't think there's a reason to take him if you're not running that.
Yeah,
I think that's true. I ran him without PBCs, but I haven't put him back in since dropping him. To be fair, because I've alluded for, I don't see his value. But then I'm not running PBC, so I think if you put that in, all of a sudden it does change his function quite a lot.
I think Morty's inclusion on a list, both. It's weird. It's sort of like gets some matchups and brings them in, but it also gets other matchups and just makes it way riskier. Like you go against, like we said, like even Tau with a crisis bomb were a really good chance of just killing him when it comes down. So having Morty in some matchups is like a godsend, and others it's a big liability. Whereas if you don't take Morty, I feel like you just kind of play the safe middle ground. If you get really unlucky, run it's like 6 Catan, in which case unluck, son.
Yeah.
Tell you what. So what are the things in the meta then that we think? What are the things that we think just look at Morty and just pop him? Like, what are the things that Morty does not want to see? Because it's probably a good thing for people who are listening, especially if they don't got many events. If they get paired into this thing, like you gave the example of the Gladius, you might look at that and go, Morty's fine, it's all just anti-infantry stuff, but there's tech in there that actually, it's a rough day in the office for him. So what are the things that
Tau is bad for Morty because basically, and one thing I noticed when I play against Tau is Ghost Keel. They just put a Ghost Keel on 2 objectives. You can't Morty it off, you gotta get within 12 to shoot it, and it's quite tough, and it can blank 2 saves, which basically means Morty has to go near it, which means Morty has to be exposed, and then he can just get jumped by Crisis or Hammerheads or Broadsides, and Morty can die pretty quick to like all the guided firepower, especially if Tetras give a unit full rerolls to hit. They've got the enhancement to get sustained hits 2 on turn 2. It can go real south real quick. I always feel like Tau for some reason feel the need to put the Ghost Keels like aggressively and then start pushing forward. Just sit him on a point. Like make me do something.
Yeah.
So I feel like in that matchup he's a liability, whereas I can just have like, so for the same cost as Morty, like 2 rhinos full of 10 Plague Marines in like 2 5-mans in each one. Like, okay, the Ghost Keel hold the point. There's 5 Plague Marines, I've took you off it. Doesn't matter if they die, I'll do the same next turn. Like, you have the ability to do that, and you don't have to go forward and try and kill the Ghost Keel. I can just deny you primary. And against Tau, that's kind of like what you want to do. Other matchups that I feel like he would be really bad into would be... let's have a think. Yeah, like you said, Reaper Spam is not great for Morty. We don't want that. Eldar, MSU,
there's the obvious
Morty
silly stuff
helps.
as well, like Rampage and Chaos
help.
Knights and stuff like that, but that kills anything it touches. That's just a sort of, if it gets into combat with anything, it's dead.
Yeah, you got... so MSU, Eldar, Morty helps out in that matchup a lot, because the indirect becoming more reliable, picking up the MSU squads is really nice. You've got Custodes matchup. I feel like Morty's a kind of a wash in that one. He's really good. He stops -1 damage. He stops all the -1 to hit in close combat, -1 to wound. But I feel like you can already kill them if you bring like flamers and stuff.
I think the Custodes one. I think this is what we haven't said actually. This is probably something just to add in at that point. Custodes are a different beast with and without Caladius. If there's 2 Caladius on the board and Mortarion's there, they don't necessarily auto-kill him in turn 1, but they probably take him down in 2 rounds of shooting quite reliably, I would say.
I would say once again, if you've got him on the line, like if they can't get to him, if like he's sat in a building at the back, buffing everything, right? Like giving you the reroll ones, and in fact, 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, mortaring Caladius Grav Tanks with no minuses is actually a really good thing. Especially with lethal hits, like it can be super effective. I think it's if you take devastating wounds kind of out the equation on it, and like Morty, it's with Morty, it's the same as playing, I think, into the Custodes, right? With the 4-up club, right? You're going 2, 4, 5, right? And that if you roll hot, you can tank anything. Don't care what you put into it. Yep. You can't kill him. If like Aiden says, you get a Havoc launcher, kill a Death Shroud, right? That kind of thing. That kind of thing happens, and you're like, I mean, we've all lost Morty to like a bolt gun or something, right? On the last wound, or something random that's just picked him up because you've dropped the 1. But that's kind of, I think I mean, that's kind of how it goes. I think it's interesting. I think if he had, weirdly, I think the one thing that would really turn him back into to more of a power piece again would just be putting the attacks back to 7 and 21.
Yeah.
Like that for me is
massive.
that for me is the bit is one of the that drop to 5, like strikes is one of the biggest reasons not to take him.
Yeah,
almost right, because I'm just like you with 5 and you drop 2 for some reason. And then only 3 are through.
20 wounds as well, I think. I don't understand why he doesn't have 20 wounds. Like, it just always seems a bit silly when there's like some of the other stuff that does have 20 wounds. Like, he should have the same defensive stats as a Great and Clean one. Like, it should just for thematic fluff, he's meant to be like Nurgle's champion, so he should be as tough. I mean, I know Great and Clean one's also meant to be Nurgle's champion, but
feel no pain. Sing it with eyes.
But so I think there's a lot of interesting things with it. I think, you know, if you play, if you are playing the Morty list and you're playing into MSU, you're laughing. You know, you can just systematically sweep stuff away.
Yeah, you said that one's lead. That was lead.
And then you go right from, if I can see what's going on with that, I can actually start to play. And then I think this is where, interestingly, the then aggressive play with the PBCs from turn 2 on starts to become really interesting. But then you are dealing with the car park situation, and you have to start thinking about how you're getting Morty out and into the field from turn 2 onwards. Yeah. So I think if you're playing MSU, that's good. If you're playing tons of anti-vehicle or tons of las cannons, or you know, some of the bigger guns in the game, you can't really play that style. And then you do have to sit back and then try and rely on your cultists to kind of get onto points, sticky them, and then have some other stuff to kind of try and take over that afterwards.
Yeah.
And it just definitely swings your play style depending on what you're going into. You can't just play your usual game every game if you're running a Morty list.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think he changes a lot. But go on then, what were you going to say? I was just going to
say, so, because again, the main consideration for Morty for me was the Custodes and the Catan matchup.
And the Catan.
Which is, the Catan's still problematic, but one thing I will say is, in the game I had versus the Custodes, so in turn 2, I managed to kill the Land Raider, popped. I managed to kill 5 Wardens with -1 damage, -1 to wound, and 4 feel no pain on. And I managed to kill a 5-man squad of Shield Guard and drop the Blade Champion to 1 wound in there. And that was the Trajan squad in the middle as well. With just shooting. I never made a charge, because I'm not going to charge into Trajan when he's on fights first. So, but that was without Morty. So that for me solidified the fact that I don't need Morty for Custodes, because I killed 2 big bricks of them with just the shooting alone, and that wasn't even optimized. Like I only got like 1 bloat drone in range for the spraying. 2 more PBCs never got in range to spray. They would have next turn, but obviously it ended. So just off that alone, I was like, okay, I can kill Custodes with guns. Obviously, you don't really charge fights first. So Morty there wasn't needed. I haven't had a practice for game versus Necrons, which is upsetting because that's what I want to play.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think Hypercrypt is an issue, because obviously they got all the teleporting and stuff like that. But it's kind of a Catan's only got a 4-up invulnerable, which means
you can kill a Catan. I killed a Catan at the weekend in one round of shooting.
That's what I'm thinking. If I manage to weight a fire down, Custodes,
you have to have,
with the 4-up invulnerable, 4-up feel no pain, and that's how many guys in a squad? That's 15. There's 5 guys in the squad. 15, and they're also -1 to wound. I should theoretically be able to kill a Catan. And also, I can charge a Catan. I can't charge
a Catan's weird because it's just a 4+ save to lottery. Like, I often find in Catans, it's the flipping plague. It's the plague bolters that do more damage than the las cannons, because you just get that auto hit on the 6, and it's just, at that point, it's the same 4+, you know, followed by a 5+.
Also, he also gives bonus for the Plaguecaster, because the Plaguecaster actually has a potential to roll the 3 damage, which only gets half to 2, which is quite nice. Another good point for him. So, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm excited though. It should be fun. It should be a good event, and we'll see kind of how it goes. I think we've got to have a lot of different armies there. Game's in a pretty good spot overall. I think most armies can compete. Whether we see stuff like Drakari, I don't know. I think the detachment is great, but I think it only brings up to like mid-level playing field. I know it was the big rave when it came out, but I think people that have played have kind of realized like they still just die.
Not to quote other people's podcasts, but I suppose I've already quoted them once. Really been enjoying the Fireside 40k with Vic and David. They talked about it. They said basically, I think their summary was really good with the Dark Eldar one. They said that, and they come out, if it was a different meta, it would be a very different game. But at the moment, the meta is just, everything that's in the meta kills them too easily. It's their wrong time. And I think that's quite true. I think, we're a prime example. Like, one random plague flamer, as I was called, I forget the names, in like, your 5-man plague marine squads, say like 5 witches charging, you overwatch, you roll a 4, you roll 4-2 upwards, and then, the probably 1 or 2 witches lands into combat, maybe kills a plague marine, and the other 4 plague marines just pick up that other one. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just the wrong time for them, I think. That just being one example of Death Guard. There's loads of outer line of sight stuff, and obviously a lot of other armies are also MSU. So, because MSU beats MSU is the reality. That's one of the things, isn't it?
Also, on the topic there of having the flamers to deal with them, I have committed hobby heresy. I will admit this now. I have come to the basically acceptance that GW has probably going to stick with PowerPoints thing for the rest of the edition, at least. So I have committed hobby heresy, and I have, instead of painting loads of new Plague Marines for this Manchester event with melter guns and Plague Spewers, I have chopped off all my bolt guns. Because I just don't ever see us taking bolt guns ever again. I think they're going to stick with how it is currently. And I mean, I've still got some. I haven't chopped every single bolt gun off, but I've chopped like 4 up into spewers and 2 up into melter guns. So I that's my hobby heresy confession. I cut my models to chase them out with power weapons. I'm sorry.
I always chop my plague marines. Have had about 7 different hands each. Like I just chop them off at the wrist. find a gun and just buy like endless just like arms for like plague marines or like space marines. Just chop them off the wrist and just glue a new one on. So my plague marines have been amputees more than once. So
it was the plague surgeon.
I'd say we're just plague surgeons, plastic plague surgeons.
I think we've talked about a few other casts. Will, you just mentioned like Fireside Chat and stuff there a bit. Aiden, do you want to talk a little bit about recent visits to Redpath and 6+++?
Yeah. So sort of recently been sort of been in contact with a couple of channels. So first of all is the Red Path run by Dara. So he's like, imagine us but for World Eaters. And I basically got in and had an episode of him recently to sort of discuss the state of chaos. The final plan is to hopefully try and get a representative from every chaos faction, so we can have like once every like quarter, balance update, we can get a Chaos Pantheon chat and just sort of overview chaos. He's obviously got World Eaters, we have the Death Guard side. But yeah, that was really cool to see. It was a really cool little video. It was fun to see like how we tackle each other's like problems. Like Custodes for him are like nightmares now, and I'm just like haha Flamigo Burr. Whereas like Necrons for him is just like, I'm just gonna run them down, boy. And I'm just like so it was cool to see. And it was just a fun chat. He's gonna be at Manchester as well, and we have we've made a deal, a pact. Who can claim the more Custodes heads? So hopefully we both get paired into Custodes, and it's who's going to bring home the most Custodian. We're going to keep a tally we've got a scoring system. So like Sisters are worth like 1 point, Shield Guard are 2, Wardens are 3, Trajan's 10.
So, and what's a tie? What if neither of you play Custodes? Are you just going to see where you finish in the rankings, and is there going to be some kind of like forfeit or prize on the line?
If neither of us play Custodes, I'll just play I'll play a Shadow round 6 with him in the corner. We'll just fight it out between us. But I don't actually know that we should maybe make a little wager on it, which is quite funny. Maybe we make him put a Nurgle banner on his channel for a week or something, and we'll do the same. We'll put a Khorne banner on the channel for a week. But
I think what's interesting about the Pantheon chat as well was that, and I think this is we'll use our channel as well as to put out the request is we need 1,000 Suns. Channel.
I think there's only General Yanis,
so we can get the Pantheon going.
Yeah, so if you are an aspiring sorcerer out there with who knows the tomes and secret tech of Tzeentch. Maybe this is the time. Maybe now's the time. Or even if you just want to join the Chaos Pantheon bit and not run your own channel and stuff, you just want to join those chats. So reach out to us. Again, you don't have to be the best 1,000 player in the world. Just have competitive experience to talk about it and sort of like, just so you can have a decent understanding of. Don't be like, I've played 1,000 once. I know what I'm talking about. Hopefully, someone a bit dedicated to the faction. But yeah, we need that. We need technically we need Chaos Knights and Demons as well. But we'll get to that one at a time.
We'll find them. Yeah, we'll find them all. I think. There must be a Demons podcast, surely.
There's a blog. I know there's a blog, True Demon Lord, but I'll see.
Yeah, because Chaos Space Mage is blog for the Blood God, really, and I know he's also World Eaters, but he seems to do a lot of CSM content.
Biggest problem with that, he's Australian, and I'm not dealing with that time zone. Then the other channel went on is the 6++. Is it plus 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 or is it plus plus?
6+++, I think it is.
So it's triple plus. So 6+++. We went on there to talk about the state of Death Guard. That was a really cool little sort of chat with their fellas. Just talking about.
Actually, just to clarify, it's 6++. I was wrong.
Sorry. 6++.
Sorry, Chris.
So yeah, check that out. That was really cool. We basically just talked about the state of Death Guard currently going ahead, in the meta. Obviously, it's not the most powerful, but it's definitely in a really good spot. Probably the best Chaos faction I'd harbour to say. So, speaking to Tom about that was really fun. So that's a video you can go check out on their channel. And we've obviously had some guests on recently as well. We've had, what is it, Tom Ogden, is it? Is it Tom?
I'm not sure. Do you mean
C Studios, what's his bloody first name?
What, James? James Zero? Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. I'm no good with names, I won't lie. I just remember it was the really...
You're always good with names here, with countries of origin.
Yeah. It'll be David who can't do numbers next.
Yeah, I'm 7++ gaming in that channel that we...
You can't count pluses, there you go. But yeah, the C Studios interview was really fun. The live stream was cool. We had, obviously, Liam VSL on recently, which is probably one of the best, I think, episodes we've ever done. It was really cool. As Dave alluded to, we're going to have Stephen Box himself. So, depending on how you see him in the Death Guard community, is quite a hot take. And that's, did you say the 26th? Is it?
26th, I think is when we've got it confirmed for. Yeah, so that's going to be. I think that's going to be an interesting one. I think Will, I like.
Is that a recording? Or is that a live?
I think I said to him we're going to do a live on that one, but
we can do live. Yeah. I mean, see if we can cross-pollinate it on both channels, even see if we can have it on. On Vanguard Tactics as well.
Vanguard Tactics,
yeah. So that's pretty cool.
I was going to say, talking of guests, actually, because I think this is a good time to start sort of winding things down, because I think we've covered most topics, and we can obviously, we'll be back again in a fortnight with another actual podcast plus all the content in the middle. But if people out there have a guest that they would like us to get on, I mean, obviously we know Nick Nanavati also plays a bit of Chaos, and anyone we've reached out to so far has jumped at the opportunity to come and talk Death Guard with us. So if there's someone out there who's either seen, someone either running an unusual Death Guard list that's doing really well, or there's a top player, a name player out there. I mean, I mentioned to these two guys, at the end of 8th edition, I think it was, and Manny was having his flirt with Death Guard. He borrowed some PBCs off me through a mutual friend. So, there's people like Manny might pick them up again. It doesn't look like he's at the moment, but there's other top players out there that maybe we're not aware of in other countries, Poland, France, America. So if someone's got a guest that they think we should have on because it does a bit different, obviously it has to be linked to Death Guard, unless it's just a pillar of the community, of course. Maybe it's Nick Nanavati, although he's touched on Chaos and plays a bit of Death Guard, he's just a pillar of the community. Other people like that, reach out to us. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and if there's someone out there, or even there's someone out there who thinks they've got a reason why they should come on, reach out, pitch yourself to us. As Aiden was alluding to there, and Dave as well, we love having the guests on. It's a different opinion, and sometimes it really enlightens us. We learn something new, and it's a different pivot or way to play the game. So yeah, it's something to bear in mind, especially the people who are members of the channel. But I mean, guys, how do people become members of the channel? There you go. God, that was a seamless link there. You were both asleep.
No, I was just giggling. That was pretty good. I'll give you that. So, Will, did you know if you actually want to support the channel, you can. Just under this video, there should be a button. It doesn't always appear on mobile. Do it on a PC. Mobile's a bit funny. Some do, some don't. Don't know why. There'll be a button that says join. It's next to like and subscribe, which also are really good buttons to press because it really helps the channel.
They're very good buttons to press.
Very good buttons to press. And I think it's $3 a month. You basically get to get a bit of benefits. You get to support the channel. You get to join the Disgustingly Resilient Discord, which I'm active in, chatting, helping people answer questions, looking at lists, stuff like that. We also have giveaways, which we've just had 3 winners for. Let me quickly get the names of our lucky winners because that's actually quite important. So we've got Drelda, who won the Saltire Games Death Guard Gaming Aids, which I wonder what they are. I guess we can talk about them in a second. We've got Tim Lord, who won a £25 virtual gift card for Warhammers. He has actually asked me instead, this is how good the product is we're peddling, right? Instead of the £25 Warhammer voucher, he said, Aiden, may I instead exchange that for an Etsy voucher to buy your Disgustingly Resilient Gaming Aids? And I said, yes. Wow. Yes,
flying
you may.
There you go.
And then Jack Storm, who won the Little Unclean One plushie. Congratulations to you guys. The prize is going to get sent out this Friday. I know. I bought a spare one for myself. So yeah, but speaking of the gaming aids, we have a sponsor, Saltire Games, who makes all sorts of like in-game aids, so deep strike markers, objective markers. And not only does he have a Death Guard themed one, we now have a very specific Disgustingly Resilient one with our very own podcast logo, our very own little like character things. And guys, also to let you know, we have a special set coming for just us 3, which is unique, going to be the only ones ever made, and they have a different colouring and like speckled pattern of purple on top of the green. So
can mine have a mini carnivore stuck to it?
I'll let you edit that one in.
I love that. The one thing Will wants on it isn't Death Guard.
I know, typical, right?
The baby Death Guard.
So yeah, if you guys want to pick up your own set, you can go to their channel. I'll put a link in the description. And if you use the code NERGLE, not only do you get a discount, you get a bit of kickback for the channel, which obviously helps us here, which is fantastic. But you know what you're going to need to use those aids? You need knowledge of the game, because you're not going to know what a deep strike is. If you don't know what a deep strike is, what's a deep strike marker for? I don't even know what the hell's a deep strike. So if I was really struggling, maybe I've just started the game, maybe I'm even a veteran that has played for a while, where can I go to learn to play this game a bit better?
Well, that's a funny thing to ask, especially as we are very good friends with a certain group called Vanguard Tactics, who Aiden and I both play for as a team. Will, come and play for Vanguard Tactics.
Team Storm, I'm a where we're top. We're Manchester's best team now. We're Manchester's second best team of the 2 teams.
Well, then maybe you should sign up for the Vanguard Tactics Academy and become Manchester's #1 team again.
There you go. Yeah, we should.
To be clear though, so as Aiden said, Vanguard Tactics run not just a really great YouTube channel where they have amazing battle reports up every week, usually on a Wednesday about 7 o'clock ish, where you can actually see both the coaches. Stephen's on there loads of time. The games are all driven about sportsmanship. They're really good fun. There's a really strong active community on there. They also run an academy where you can learn to play. This academy is actually now closed and has completely sold out. Even in fact, Aiden, I think a couple of people have joined straight from our
yeah, managed to get five people.
So 5 people have, that's been great. 5 people have used our affiliates link and have signed up. It will open again later this year, and we will keep you guys abreast on that. But do go and check out their channel, watch some of their content. It's great. And just going back to what the guy said earlier, please do like and subscribe on our videos and our channels. It does help with, as you hear every creator say, it does help with the algorithms in YouTube. But also do dive into the content. I think there's now 63 videos on the channel. There's everything from content from Will talking about games and events, from Aiden talking about tactics and using kind of armies and playing against other bits, and me talking nonsense about individual models. So there's a lot of good stuff on there for you to delve into. We're at 4.2k subscribers now, and I think we're now at just under 210,000 video views. So there is a load of Death Guard content on here for everybody. So please do dive in and take a look.
Yeah, and on that note, coming up, sorry, Will, just very quickly, just coming up this week, I have been a bit behind. It's been a busy week, Mother's Day and my girlfriend's birthday weekend. So that's why it's been a bit quiet last week. But back on it, and I'm recording a sort of like shooting in charge phase video. I was going to do a Custodes video, but they just announced the Codex, and I'm not doing that again. Did that with the Necrons.
You did that. You timed that perfectly with the Necrons before.
Literally not doing that again. So
you can make a Tau one soon as well.
Yeah, but what I'm going to do in this video, to sort of like improve the quality yet again, we're always trying to do that, is we're going to have some live reenactments of like movements and things you can do on the table, like how to get around fights first. I have borrowed 5 custodian models from a friend of mine to put them on the table so we can record
touch some Custodes models.
I'm going to touch them, but we're going to outplay them.
You're going to get like an animation done when you kill them. They just have like a really gruesome explosion on the screen or something.
Fatality. But yeah, so look forward to that content coming. Again, Will, if you want to do, are you going to do a little write-up for your RTT, Mr. 3-0 Big Man?
Well, it was more of a casual event. It was very just sort of local guys. So it wasn't. Not the bragging rights. It might have been, like a don't get RTT super majors, but I'll still talk about. I'll do a brief breakdown. Talking about I still made some mistakes as ever. A few things that I'd sort of picked up. And through doing this channel with you guys, things that we've discussed. Employing tactics that I've sort of learned from. So slowly improving and getting better. So there'll be something there. And I was going to say before as well, before we sign off, obviously we're approaching we're now on the stretch where we're looking at 5k subscribers. It doesn't seem like long ago we're excited that we got 3k, and we did say when we get to 5k we'd all do something. So now Dave's involved. Dave's going to have to also
pretty sure I remember sort of budgie smugglers and Will.
No, I did say I think I'd wear a mankini to a super major. So, I mean, like I say, if we get 5k, if that's what the community wants, me walking around in a mankini. Maybe we should do that and then do some kind of like Patreon thing where if enough people at the event put £1 in a bucket, I'll put my clothes on, we'll give that money to charity. Get it away.
You are right, Will. We do need a 5k challenge of some kind, don't we?
We do, don't we? So I mean, we'll have to. It could be one for each of us, because I feel like Aiden last time I did one his silly list, so it could be something even sillier, or whatever. Whereas myself and maybe Dave as well, I'm not bothered about a silly list. It might be something I'd have chose to make. So maybe I need to wear something silly, or do something silly at an event. And I don't know what yours could be, Dave.
In the comments,
Yeah.
Make me take Custodes to an event.
Maybe we could run a raffle, and people could we'll make it a super low level to entry, a cost to buy a ticket, whatever, and we'll draw those people, and each of those people that we draw gets to choose something we take for each of us. For each of us,
fun, yeah. Do so a little charity giveaway or something.
Yeah, so we'll let the members of the community of our community. Someone will get a chance to choose a list for us to take, and we'll have to take it to an event.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's quite good.
It could be. That's just an idea, but like Aiden said, chuck it in the comments if you've got a better idea. Let us know.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I think we'll probably have as a running theme until we get to 5k, because that'll help people remember to share and like the content. So if you can think of something, for either me, Aiden, or Dave, or all three of us, if you can think of a forfeit that the three of us could do together. Start thinking about it now, and when we get to 5k, we'll have to put our money where our mouth is, I guess.
Singles event as a team, and each one of us gets to play a turn.
There you go. That might be good. See if we can enter a teams event, but just see if we can get a special rule we can all just post 3 death guard teams.
Yeah, you have to go and sit in the booth so you can't see or know anything that's happened up to that point.
But I think we're going to have some fun with this. I think as we're on the home stretch for it now. We're already inside that 1,000. Didn't take us long to get from 3 to 4, so it might be 5k might rush up sooner than we expect. So
4.22 already. So yeah, it's kind of.
Well, I better go on eBay and see if I can find some mankinis. I want a second-hand one.
Oh, that is disgusting.
Fluorescent green. There we go. But yeah, that seems like a good moment for me to sign off at least. So I'll do it there. You guys, anything you want to add before we?
So now Will's scarred you nightmares for tonight. No, I'm good. So thank you very much for everyone listening. Look forward to some upcoming content. The next podcast episode should be after Manchester, I believe, isn't it? It's not.
Well, yeah. We've been doing them fortnightly, so to get the podcast at a regular, and then obviously as we were saying before, solo content and people sort of pairing up and stuff, sort of filling in the middle.
Sweet. So look forward to that then. So that'll be cool. But yeah, no, part of that, obviously keep enjoying your hobby and your Death Guard stuff and whatnot. Stay rotten from me. Mr. Dave, do you want to take us out?
Yeah. It's as always, guys, disgusting hanging out with you. Everybody look after yourselves. Take care and keep playing Death Guard. See you later, guys.
See you later, guys.
Laters.